I believe, all 15 counties in our beloved country. These debates are moderated by our esteemed journalists, which they bring to the table vast knowledge in the core topics that are going to be discussed, which are the economy, health, education, rule of law, peace and security, among others. Candidates will have 3 minutes allocated to respond to additional 2 minutes for follow-ups. What is very important is the questions asked have been well researched by members of our consortium. There will be questions from you, our audience, and our audience virtually. Lastly, each candidate will have 5 minutes of closing statement. In closing, welcome to these debates, and let us strive as a nation to have these debates permanently required in our electoral process. And let us also consider to do a deep dive in campaign finance and the reforms. Thank you so much.
All right, so straight into business. Ground rules. Number 1, segments of debate. A. These candidates will be given 3 minutes each to do an open statement, and the open statement timeline will be on this board. And when you hear, we will call, for example, candidate Beslow, who's not here, Yanti, and actually ask candidate Yanti to make a comment for probably 1 second to 5. And she will begin speaking, and the time will roll with an end sound that should stop the speaker. This is what you hear. Do come on, please. Thank you. When that happens, you have to start talking. If you can't stop, we will stop. We have enough control. First, the hall will blast. Second, we have control over cutting you off. And you will not get hurt. It's as simple as that. And if they do, why vote for somebody who doesn't live by rule? And so, segment 2 will be about that. Actually, segment 2 is trending issues that affect Liberia, the topical issues of the day, actually, and we will bring that to you. First, they will be read by our moderator, Torwin, following which they will have a rollout by 2 of our moderators. Segment 3 is when they actually grill each other. They will come here and face each other directly in what we call inter-candidates questions and answers. And so the 2 come here. Once you raise your hand and say, I got a question for Brown, then Brown has to come and face you. So 2 questions in that segment and 1 rebuttal. The 4th segment will be when we throw them out to you, the people in this audience. You actually will engage them in questions and answers, in suggestions for good governance, anything you've got to contribute. The 5th is parting comments. 1 minute each for departure. The sixth, ceremonially, simply recession out of this hall. Just as they came in, they will go back again. Simple. Conversational, nothing impersonal attacks here. So, the other rules are no loose clapping here. You don't get it from anywhere and start clapping. No. Hand of applause. You have to be instructed by us at intervals of this debate. We will ask everybody to give a hand applause to everybody. So Bendo doesn't, Mrs. Kroma doesn't say something that excites you or support her, and you jump up and start singing. No, we will not allow that. So we will clap together at intervals of the debate. No booing or jeering, absolutely none. Nobody will be allowed to boo anybody here or jeer at people. Now, if you do that, we'll ask you out. Everybody is saying something important as far as we are concerned. No need to boo. Unrecognized questions. You don't jump up from anywhere. Together we are agreeing on these ground rules and just say, oh, I want to ask somebody. No. There will come time for that when we will recognize you. Yes, go on. Yes, go on. And you will move to the mics which are in the field. Don't come here. There are mics waiting for you in the field. Concision and presentation. You will ask questions or say something. Candidates, don't waste time. There's no consideration in our timing because that spoils the debate. This thing, once it blows, we don't care. You will have to sit down. So when you get there, say what you have to say and quickly so you get out. Yep. So we were mentioning the timeline. This board controls us like you had. Profanity, none. Nobody should insult anybody here. Will not allow you. We will stop you. Insults will not give you power. Votes will give you power. I'm sure you don't insult when you go to campaign. Personal attacks, no. There's a tendency for people to attack. How many children Mrs. Kroma has nothing to do with this debate. How many schools she will help build in this country will matter, not her personality. The big one, no alcohol here. If you find alcohol here, get out. If it's in you, be sober, or we'll make you sober. Right? Having said that, Mrs. Johnson-Sirleaf Brown will now bring you our thematic topics of the day. Mrs. Brown, thank you.
Thank you, John. So, we have 11 issues, thematic issues that will be addressed by the candidates today. And interviews with support from USAID through our partners and radio stations around the country, have conducted research in all of the 73 districts of Liberia. And the issues that have been compiled to form part of the discussion today are training issues that people have been talking about. And so here are the issues. Education is one of them. Agriculture and food security. Health, infrastructure, foreign policy, the rule of law, the economy, peace and reconciliation, youth empowerment, corruption, gender, and inclusion. So these are the thematic issues that the candidates will be addressing themselves to. So at this time, I would like to call on the podium Eva. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that will come later. But next, now, opening statement, self-introduction. And we will go alphabetically per the rule of today. Alan Brown is number 1. And Alan, you are termed on that board. If you like, for visibility, you may stand. If you wish, you stay where you are. But please make sure, I don't know if you can see that time. No, you got 3 minutes. Actually, 3 minutes you will have, if you like. Good. So, and it will begin once you begin.
Thank you so much.
So, I may say something before that. We want to make sure you get a fair play. So, you can wave to people. Stop right there. And then we'll time you now. So, Alan Brown, candidate for president, will have 3 minutes of self-introduction, meaning open statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Start now. Okay, so Liberia Restoration Party. We are a faith-based movement to restore the nation to God. I believe that a candidate can be deeply spiritual and intensely practical. So let's get into some practicalities. The price of a cup of rice in the market today is about $100, $50 LD. It used to be $20, $15. Look at a pile of pepper. It's $100. It used to be $20. The point I'm making is that these are exorbitant prices for the average person. Too high. What I'll be immediately doing, if I'm elected, will be to call the importers of petroleum and the importers of rice. Make a deal with them to reduce those prices and keep those prices reduced until the economy picks up. The next thing I'll be looking at is transportation. People wake up in the morning when it's dark. They got to get on the road to get to work. They go home when it's dark. It's a problem. I will be dealing with the transporters internationally to come and bring the buses to at least try to alleviate that. Next thing I'm looking at is infrastructure, immediate infrastructure. We got bottlenecks, traffic. People take 2 hours getting to work, 2 hours going back from work, problem. So I'll be very much looking at the bottleneck places. You're talking about red light junction, that have overhead jackknives. You're talking about Duper Road Junction, overhead jackknife. We're talking about EFWA Junction, overhead jackknives, because we need a smooth flow of traffic. You're talking then, from there, we're talking also about Bonnersville, the Freeport, and then you're talking about that Walla Market, a mess. We need to make sure that people have time to spend time with their family, enough time to spend time with their families. If they're taking 2 hours to go to work, another 2 hours to come from work. That's a problem. I will deal with that by putting money into infrastructure. And then we're talking about the rule of law. Nothing can happen without the rule of law. We know that. Competent judges that have integrity, judges that have compassion. And then there are 2 committees. One is the Judicial Inquiry Commission for Judges, and what I will be doing is strengthening that committee. So if there's any sort of misrule by the judges, we can deal with it. Then there is the Grievance and Ethics Committee for lawyers, strengthen them. And the reason for that is so that they can deal with any misrule and we can start dealing with the money. There is a relationship between the rule of law, attracting money and capital.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. He will do a lot of good in getting poor people revived. If that makes sense to you, October 10th. Thank you very much. Next, actually, should be Joseph Boakai, ambassador, and candidate for president. He's not here. Alexander Kuhlman should be here. He's not here. Johnson-Sirleaf Freeman should be on his way. He's not here yet. He will forfeit this segment because he will not have arrived in time. Lieutenant Kamara is not. Bendu Alema Kuruma is next, and our engineers tell us it's good to use the podium because they want to get everybody to see you clearly. Next, as of now, thank you. Mr. Kuruma, please, for 3 minutes, tell Liberia who you are, why you want to be our leader, what you will do. Thank you. Your time is up.
Hello, my fellow Liberians and distinguished ladies and gentlemen in this hall. First and foremost, I know the gentleman had mentioned Dr. Sawyer, for whom this thing is named. But my name is Bendu Elema Kruma. I'm fortunate to have been a student for Dr. Sawyer. But before I go far, a very, very important woman, even though she's not from Liberia, died recently, Senator Diane Feinstein. You see, I was fortunate to work in the state of California, and California accepted me as their own. Liberia also have accepted me as their own. I'm appealing to the women of this great nation. Women, we have to take control of our country. Women, we give birth. We do a whole lot of stuff. So it's about time that we come back to power and build on what that Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf built on. So I'm appealing to each and every one of you, locally and internationally, to come together and support women. Women play an essential role. We have 50% of the population. We have played a critical role domestically and internationally. Let's come together and rebuild Liberia. My topics or platform include infrastructure, building better roads, healthcare, making sure that our people don't leave here and go to Ghana, Sierra Leone, or whatever for health treatment. Rebuild JFK in our healthcare. As a child, I worked at JFK. As a vacation student, it was very, very good. People all over used to come and do their eye surgery. There was a brilliant doctor called Dr. Traub. So we can bring all of those back. There was also a German doctor called Dr. Disbender. Dr. Disbender did my crown in my teeth. Believe it or not, it is still there. And I'm not going to tell you my age. Okay. And on top of that, we have education. Our educational system is broken. We need good teachers like Dr. Amos Sawyer, who taught me social science 201, and many other great teachers. We also need healthcare, infrastructure, and taking care of our youth. The other day, members of the ruling party were passing around saying, we want more push. Push is a drug that destroys the children. So we don't need somebody passing on the streets of Monrovia and singing to our children, we want more push. That in itself is detrimental, and that needs not to be done ever again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have a lot more. I'll stop here for now.
To call this. All right. Thank you. After Mrs. Kuruma, who is very, very concerned with women and health care, it should be Richard C. Miller. And Richard is here, I believe. Richard C. Miller is our candidate for president, approaching the podium. Mr. Miller, that board is your controller, so look at it keenly as you speak. Thank you for 3 minutes.
Good morning to all of you. I want to thank the custodian, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody that are here for this debate. Throughout this campaign, and even before this campaign, I've been struck about the frustration of ordinary people young people who are on the streets selling, because the teams that I always hear from young people, why is it that you're not in school? And they always tell me, my parents don't have money for me to go to school. So not only are they risking their lives, running across the streets in order to make a means meet for their families. High unemployment, rising costs of food, transportation, fuel, fueling this frustration. This election offers an opportunity to change the direction of our country, to transform that frustration into a prosperous future. Nearly 28 years of business experience. I've worked for various Fortune 500 companies in the United States. I work also as an environmental professional. So I have a dual role. I have an MBA. When it comes to the economy, I understand. As an entrepreneur, I know, because I have employed for my family. I'm running for president because I have the experience to improve our economy and to ensure that the voices of the Liberian people are heard. That's my commitment. If you vote for me, it's important this election for us to move ahead in terms of what is important. Democracy, and there's so many pillars that are important for us. Thank you so much for your time.
36 seconds of his time for us. Thank you, Richard Miller. Next should be William Weir-Twitter. He's not here. So we've got Joshua Tom Turner, candidate for president 2023 presidential and legislative elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Joshua Tom Turner, and I represent the New Liberia Party. Basically, this is what I want to do in Liberia. I want to industrialize this country. 80% of our people don't have mental property. 80% of them, more like I drop out of school, illiterates, and the rest of it. The only way you can change this country is to put the 80% also to work. 20% of our people got high school or some BA or some masters and all that, and you can employ them. So if you have a country where 80% of the people are dropouts and they're not educated, you will be putting the mathematics between the 80% living on the 20%. And if that happens, you'll be talking about abject poverty, no matter how much salaries the rest of the 20% can make. So if you industrialize this country, I'm going to bring back made in Liberia. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to open factories. These factories will employ the labor of Liberians, not necessarily mental intelligence. Because in a factory, you need 3% of those that got the mental intelligence, and you need about 90% of those that you will employ the physical labor. Exactly that's what Liberia needs right now. As simple as a pen is in our hands, it costs 20 liberty in Liberia. If you should ask how many pens we have used in this country in a year, it could amount to 3 million pieces times 20 liberty. That's 60 million goes out only for pen. We import everything in Liberia. So Joshua Turner wants to industrialize this country, bring back made in Liberia, and all our usables and consumables in this country should be made right in this country. If you do that, you create job opportunities for the masses. If you do that, you will control the prices of all our goods and services in this country. If you do that, when you go out there in the rest of the West African countries in the world, you will find made in Liberia. That will give this country a very good balance of payment, and that will attract the kind of investment that we need as a country to take this country to where it should be. If you go on the streets of Accra today, you see Liberian women every week going there with 20,000, 50,000 to buy something and bring. Same thing with Lagos, same thing with Sierra Leone, same thing with Guinea. When you go anywhere in this country, you're not going to see a Ghanaian girl buying anything here because we buy everything from outside to bring in. Basically, I want to industrialize Liberia and I will bring back made in Liberia. The rest of them, I'm going to be talking about them along the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you for 7 minutes. Industrialization is the man's thing. That's what you believe Liberia should be. Imagine the man on October the 10th. That's your decision. Now, next is Kuyate. Kuyate joins us today as a matter of actually being good to us. He was not expected here, he was expected at Bangladesh. That he's a good man in this instance now. Not the election, He got 3 minutes. Kuyate.
Good morning, fellow Liberians, our dignitaries, your excellencies. I'm Sheikh Al-Mustafa Kuyate, servant in charge of Liberia First Movement and also presidential candidate. Today I've come with a testimony to let you know that Liberia is a great nation, a nation that was created for free Africans, a nation that was created as a land of liberty. Based on that, I have come today representing my party, Liberia First Movement, which was a pressure group that was calling for a war, the establishment of war in the Economic Crime Code. Our involvement in these elections is not a position for ourselves, but to create 4 positions for Liberian people. In these 4 positions, when Africanized, it is pronounced READ. Reconciliation, empowerment, accountability, and development. We believe that in the absence of reconciliation, you can have a sustainable and prosperous nation. And to have total reconciliation, it must be with total justice and accountability for the people. How can we reconcile as Liberian people when war in economic conflict is not established? And because that we don't have such a court, yesterday, a few days ago in Lofa, people were killing one another because there's no justice in our country. We also believe that there's a need for empowerment. We have younger generation, many of whom are only used to regulations, and the only thing given to them is a mandate which many of them don't know what it means. We also believe that you cannot have a democratic nation in the absence of accountability. That is why we believe that making Liberia great, we must have an accountable system and accountable government. Furthermore, development is very essential. In the absence of development, we cannot have the Liberia with itself. And to have that, we need such like agriculture, infrastructure, healthcare, food security, national security, and so on. On behalf of the Liberia First Movement, we say to you that we have come with a testimony. And this time, we share with you. Thank you so much. And we want to assure you that we have come to tell you our story, the Liberian story, not our personal story. We will tell you stories that you understand what our people are going through. This nation, Liberia, is a great country for every African, an inclusive nation for every African. May God bless you and thanks for coming. And we, the Liberia First Movement, are pleased to have you today. Thank you so much.
All right. Sheikh Al-Kuyate, 75 seconds of his time. He believes that Liberia should have retributive justice. Pay for what you do, and the country will be better. where you go? October 10. Now, having listened to our great candidates on this podium today and heard who they actually are, at least in speech, I want us to give them a big hand of applause. Segment 2, thematic topics, trending issues of Liberia. Those will be led by Francine Wola and Eva Flo. Thank you. Great. And this one will go in 2 minutes. And every time a candidate comes on an issue, 2 minutes. It's a lot of time. So, education, for example, 2 minutes. And that minute will be clocked in after the question. The question is not part of the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I'd like to say welcome to each and everyone. Excellencies, people who are here, observers, candidates themselves, including ourselves. John, thank you for taking the lead. John, thank you. And my colleague and I will be here for this segment. And so we'll go straight into question number 1. And that is going to be on education. Education is a cornerstone of a prosperous society. And with the rising cost of primary, secondary, and higher education, what specific policies and initiatives do you plan to implement to improve the quality of education, ensuring that all Liberians have access to an equitable and effective learning environment? In general, what is your plan for education? And go ahead, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. So education should be culturally sensitive, and it should be geared towards technology because of where we are in the world today. And that's what I intend to do. For example, children learning to read. Liberian children, they should be reading about 2-4 and sumo playing blade in the sand. And the reason for that is that they will appreciate their culture and that sense of identity that's very important. Education should be a wholesome experience. It's wholesome. So we're talking about not only educating the children, we're also talking about educating the parents, which is also important because you have a productive environment for the children, but at home it's not productive is a problem. We're going to incentivize education, allowing the parents to have a bag of rice, allowing the children so that they have an incentive, and giving them an allowance so they have an incentive to send their children to school. And then we want the children to be in school all day. The Japanese have the Juku school system, and the Swedes teach you how to clean your room, how to behave, how to communicate with others. We're going to do all those things, and we're going to do more. Education, there will be an allotment specifically to enhance education because that is what is necessary for the future of this country, for the future of our children. I'm very confident that Liberia has everything it takes, that our citizens will gravitate to my policies in education. Thank you.
We'll call up the next person. We'll be calling Madam Bendu Alima Kroma, independent candidate. You have 2 minutes.
Thanks again. Education is such a crucial thing for every nation. And how we can do education is by educating our farmers to grow better food. You know, for example, rice. You can grow rice rice in 6 months. So we need to teach our farmers how to include, how to produce rice in such a short span of time. Also, education can take the form of classroom. Teach your children how to teach themselves. And education should not only be limited to the children. It has to also have adult education. Back in the day, we have so many adult educational schools over here. We need to reintroduce that. And let me tell you something, my biological mother never went to school. When she went to visit me in the state of California, I enrolled her in a night school. It was the first time my mother had no classroom experience, even though she had taught her children. I have PhD, doctorate degree, several master's degrees, but just seeing her going to school, teaching her, that thing she gave me, it felt so good. Our people in the market probably need to have a little classroom there, even if you teach them ABC, or you teach them how to go in bed, or you teach them how to go and sign simple papers. Those are so essential. Education is very, 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 very essential. You can apply it in all sectors. Improve the skill set. Improve, now is going into AI, artificial intelligence. Everybody knows how to use Facebook. Let's expand their knowledge in those sectors. Moreover, education will bring about a universal understanding of the languages. So let's do that and educate all.
All right, before that, we've got the arrival of candidate Edward Appleton. And please note, he's also not supposed to be here, but he's good enough to us to come. He's supposed to be around. And thank you, Mr. Appleton, for coming. We appreciate it. Yeah.
Next, we'll be calling up Mr. Richard St. Miller from the Liberians for Prosperity Party. 2 minutes.
My experience as an entrepreneur, business person, it's like whenever we have a problem, is to figure out what are the root causes of these issues, right? So once you understand what the issue is, then you can get to a place where you say, okay, I got recommendations. This is what I need to do. So that way, it can be sustained. The issue with education has always been a challenge. I believe in the previous administration, the president at the time said that education situation is a mess. So when you hear that it's a mess, so what does that mean? Does that mean that we have no other solution? We don't know what to do. We put our hands up and just say, okay, we'll see what happens. So we're talking about the kind of policies, initiative that I intend to implement. First of all, the thing is communication across all aspects between the Ministry of Education, teachers, administrators, to communicate. If I'm given the opportunity to lead this country, is to invest in new facilities, technology, hire new teachers, be certified teachers are already there, and to make sure that the requirements for someone to become a teacher, that person is ready when they get in the classroom to be able to teach the children. And we have to also
Thank you. Please, when you come, pay attention to the board. Whatever you have to say, Be to the point, be exact. No dilly-dally, at least. Tell the Liberian people what you have to do, no dancing around. Next we'll call up Sheikh Oyata.
Greetings once again. As regards education, Liberians and international partners are aware that the youth of this country have been deprived of quality education. It is why when you call all the 20 candidates, you realize that most of them will keep saying, I'm a Harvard graduate, I'm a Princeton University graduate, and most of their children are in university in Europe and America, and our past leaders and the present one all refer to our education system as poor and a mess because they have never seen education to be compulsory. Under my leadership as president of Liberia, I, Sheikh Al-Mustafa Kuyat, we ensure that education will be compulsory. Not just being compulsory, we ensure that primary education will be free of charge from 6 years to 15 years. We ensure that from 10th grade in high school, from 10th grade to 12th grade, we introduce vocational and technical education. So when students are graduating from high school, they'll have a career. As you're aware, most of our graduates today, when they graduate with no job, the only vacancy they have is to go to get to become Zogo, as we call it. We want to ensure to have inclusive educational package where even disabled community can also be trained to become a career person. So that when they go to universities, the first, second, third years, they begin to do internship. So when they graduate with a BSc, under our law, you see, must have 4 years job experience. They already have the 4 years of job experience when they graduate from university. Fellow Liberians and Liberians, yes, we say to you, thank you. This is what Liberia First Movement has for you when we win this election. Thank you.
Next, we'll welcome Mr. Joshua Tom Turner from the new Liberia Party. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, on education, first and foremost, I'm going to reverse and upgrade our curriculum to meet with international standards. Our kids in this country growing up, all you know is John Kizet and Matilda Libo. Nobody knows that out of Liberia. So as soon as you leave from here, you cannot compete with anybody on the international stage. So we got to first of all reverse and upgrade and more like scrap portion of our curriculums to meet with international standard. Secondly, we're going to build 5-star schools in virtually all of the districts in Liberia, so that we can give children and Liberian people the good and very comfortable learning environment. So these schools will be 5-star schools that we're going to build all over our 73 districts in Liberia. Thirdly, we're going to make sure that education for children is compulsory and is free. It doesn't make sense to me for you to educate adults and you leave the children out there. You give adult scholarship in this country and you don't give it to kids. Whereas 700,000 of our children are there in the communities. They are either selling water, carpenters and all that, hanging around and not going to school. So basically, I'm going to do everything to make sure education is free and compulsory for children. We're going to release a task force into community that will bring people to vote, that are keeping people's children working as houseboy and housegirls while their children are going to school. We're going to do all of that and make sure that every Liberian child has a fair share to go to school. Finally, to me, if you provide a scholarship for adults and you don't for children, it's simply because adults can vote and children don't vote. So we're going to provide it for kids, and we're going to make it free and compulsory and stop the curriculum
delegates.
Next, let us welcome Mr. Edward Appleton Jr. from the Grassroots Development Movement.
Thank you very much. My name is Edward Appleton Jr. and it's a pleasure to see all of you here. Thank you for inviting me. I represent the Grassroots Development Movement. It's a new political party. As part of my plan, I will first send a strong message that education is the key to opportunity. Education unlocks the door to poverty. I want our citizens to know that education may help us to reduce poverty in this country. I'm going to work with the Ministry of Education to review the institutional framework we already have in place. And that has to do with how we standardize education. That has to do with teacher training programs. We do have some teacher training programs that are already in place. We have to do a review, for example, the KRTTI and the ZRTTI. These are teacher training programs that we have to enhance. We are already in place, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I want to make public education free. There's no need for students in this country to worry or going to school when in fact we have to generate more revenue to ensure that we can invest in the education. I also want to make our system a skill-based education system, like the UWI concept, where from first grade to sixth grade, you learn basic math, science, English, and from 7th grade to 12th grade, you will select a program. Whether you want to be computer tech, what do you want to do? Be a carpenter, a mason. So by the time you graduate from high school, you are ready for the job market. And at the end of the day, this will enhance our workforce. So as also in reference to my own plan, I will ensure that we review the regulatory framework as it relates to how we standardize education, how we keep records, and how we track the performance of our students. And there will be more to come in days to come. Thank you very much.
And on education, finally, we'll be calling Mr. Seaman Freeman from the Movement for Progressive Change, MPC. Welcome. 2 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. Simeon Freeman, Movement for Progressive Change. As president, our goal is to change the approach that have been used repeatedly. We want to privately run but publicly fund education. By that, we need to change the current approaches that never worked since 1947. That's why we're running on the slogan, different approach, different result. We will, as a matter of fact, privatize all of the schools, give it to private institutions to run, and then those schools will be given clear-cut mandate to run the schools the way they should be run. We should not be using black polls, we should be using electronic polls. How do we pay for the education? Simply put, we introduce a new tax called the National Education Tax, and an agreement will be reached as to how much will be determined for tuition. So in that way, we will have tuition being paid. So let's say we agree that from ABC to first grade primary is say $100, then that's what will be paid per quarter to the different privately run educational institutions that will now be given the standards. Regarding teacher training, then we will also have a partnership where these privately run institutions, we will give them as part of that allotment, it's like a price infrastructure, an amount for them to be able to train their teachers. We will set the standards. We want bachelor's degree to teach our primary, secondary schools. And in that way, we will have communicated the standards. Regarding college, we will develop similar trends and standards. The current standard doesn't work, where you provide free college education is not working. We think it needs to be funded better than that, and the standard structure. We also want to invest heavily in our educational infrastructure. In terms of books, we don't write our own sociology book, public administration books.
Thank you so much. correction for the benefit of our radio listeners, because this is being carried live on radio and on the social media. You're listening to the presidential debate 2023, and we have now 7 candidates seated. We'll take the reverse. We'll start with the session on agriculture and food security. We'll listen to the speakers to talk about agriculture. But as we said, we'll begin with Madam Bindu Kurumana. Please come up, Madam. As we said, official statistics says that Liberia spends over or about $220 million US to import our own staple rice. We want to know from you, Madam Kurumana, and the other candidates, what's your plan for agriculture? Against the backdrop of subsidies to business people by the current government, what's your position on that? And how do you plan to make Liberia at least self-sufficient in our staple rice, if elected?
Once again, I'm Bindu Kurumana. If elected, agriculture is an essential part of any economy, especially third world nations. In Liberia, we need to invest more in growing food. If we grow a lot of food, we can have a lot of Liberians employed. And I'm saying this because in the 1940s, when Tubman brought about rubber, we had a whole lot of rubber plantation, and that hired so many Liberians. I'm a beneficiary of that. My dad had a rubber farm, and all of the kids had to work on that rubber farm. So if we should diversify like rice, cocoa, coffee, can you imagine how many Liberians will be employed by just expanding our agriculture sector? It will be a whole lot. We can have close to 600,000 new jobs just from agriculture. So we need to revisit our cultural system and bring that. And then maybe or develop factories that can process some of our food. Some of our food that we produce, we can manufacture in, and that will also increase the job potential. Once you do that, you will have some people, you employ them, you will pay taxes. When you employ those people, taxes is a form of revenue. Just increasing the number of food we produce, then we can go into export and improve our foreign currency and all that.
Okay, next we will take Mr. Turner. Mr. Allen, the next speaker, because we want to shift the responses from the end to this side. We don't want to take it from one side. So, Mr. Allen, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So, first thing I want to do is to deal directly with the question. Has to do with rice. You know, rice has been a real problem in Liberia. So we have to be self-sufficient. That one is clear. And to think that after all this time we haven't been self-sufficient, it's bothersome. So we're going to be self-sufficient about rice, and we have to do it expeditiously in the first 2-3 years. And you know, it's directly linked to security and the rule of law and all of that. But I want to talk about agriculture in terms of globalization. We have a situation in the world where there is going to be food scarcity. So we know that. So we have to plan for it. And we can plan for it from day one. What we do have, we have fertile land. What we need to do is maximize every single acre, and we can do that. I believe that working with our international partners is the key. Take advantage of their expertise. They have it. Why not use it? Israel, the United States of America, these are countries that are allies to us. The Netherlands, they all have this stuff. So we have to basically use that. And then we sit now and we put the comprehensive plan together to make sure that we are an agricultural giant. We have to put in our school systems agriculture courses in the curriculums, and then we have to give incentive to students.
You talk about being an entrepreneur. How will you factor this into agriculture and make us self-sufficient in rice production, especially? Thank you.
So far for this fiscal year, national budget is nearly 783 million. So we're talking about 200 million or a little bit more in terms of importing rice. It makes no sense. So that's part of the reason why we see other areas in the country are not being able to be invested the right way. We have to focus on production rather than just importing. Because at the end of the day, you have to have a balance. If we want to produce, which is best for the country, when you produce, it also helps the GDP. So when you produce and you send things outside of this country, and then also you can import. But the thing is, you can't have the equation to be one-sided. Just importing, because then it's not going to be the kind of economy that we want. We have to make sure that all across what I'm hearing from my colleagues here in terms of mechanized farming, technology and things of that sort, to make sure that we invest in the right way. All these years, I'm 53 years old, mechanized farming, it's always been the same. So it's time to have a new approach to make sure that we know what we can do as a people, but the vision that I have in mind, because someone who has worked with big companies like DuPont, and a lot of big companies, I understand how manufacturing works. So it's not a strange thing to me or concept that I don't understand. We have to go to an industrial revolution, just like the U.S., Asia, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Yes.
We'll go next to Mr. Appleton, candidate Appleton.
Thank you very much. Agriculture is the bedrock of our economy. Agriculture accounts for 38% of GDP and employs almost 70% of the population. So it makes good sense to invest in agriculture. As part of our plan, we first want to have a framework and a national policy that will identify our farmers and do this mapping of our sector. The next thing is we want to ensure that we can move from the agrarian form of agriculture to more of mechanized and industrialized farming. What it's going to do is will help to increase production, and we also have to invest into such things as providing farmers with the tools, providing them with the education in terms of measurement. We have to invest in storage facilities, for example. Most of the food that are already produced in this country go to waste because there are no storage facilities. So my administration will be looking into that. Let's look at the economy of coconut, for example. We have coconut all over this country. In other industrialized nations, we have coconut water, for example, coconut oil, cocoa butter. These are things we can take advantage of to add value to our agricultural products. We have mangoes, we have a lot of things here. If we produce more, we will be able to help to create jobs. We will help to reduce poverty, and that will increase our GDP. It will also help to ensure that we can move from $4.4 billion, we'll increase our GDP to $75 billion, which will also empower us to invest in other things such as education, electricity, and energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Simeon Freeman, candidate from the NBC. How do you intend to handle that project?
These 2 minutes are grossly insufficient, but we'll deal with them. So agriculture, the biggest challenge in our country is the issue of land clearing. Poorly funded, the whole concept of Ministry of Agriculture has to go away. I want to reintroduce the Liberia Produce Marketing Corporation, which was shut down. It will help in the process of marketing the products that will be developed. We want to have private companies, almost like Firestone Coronet Hines is working in Mexico, clear land for farmers, buy the use back from them. They can become the fulcrum of the economy. If you want to produce rice in this country, you have to go all over the country collecting rice. It makes it difficult, it makes it impossible. The issue of yield per hectare is a major problem, so when we clear the land, we would be able to get better output from the land, and we have one company buying the produce. Because we have one company buying the produce, those companies will be able to ship. A short story, a friend of mine in Texas wanted to Italy. I said to him, buy from Liberia. He said, what are you talking about? You call somebody now, they will say to you, I have to go and set up the infrastructure. But if I call Vietnam or Thailand, I can get as many containers of Italy as I want. We need to set up the infrastructure. We need to have the private sector play a major role in the process of growth and agricultural development as compared to the current structure that we have. That's never wrong. Give money to the Ministry of Agriculture, it gets boxed down in all kinds of stories. Nothing really happens. Year in, year out, we're still importing rice. At the time we killed Toba in 1979, we're probably spending about 27 million importing rice. Today it's going to more than 300 million. We need to have a different approach, and we'll get a different result. Savior Freeman, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we're now going to switch the theme to peace and reconciliation. And from consultation, we'll give the candidates 3 minutes. from 2 to 3. Now we take up this issue first with candidate Kuyate. How would you describe the state of national peace and reconciliation in Liberia? What needs to be done to achieve national reconciliation at this time, against the backdrop that the past leadership said they failed on reconciliation? And in addition, your position, you already stated it earlier, but definitively concerning war and economic crisis support. Will you stick to whatever position you take if elected president?
I, Sheikh Al-Mustafa Kuyate, Liberia 25th president, by God's willing. When I'm elected as president of this country, in my first 100 days, I will ensure that all the economic crime code is established so that we can sell deterrent for who be war criminals or economic criminals. This country has become a playground for thieves and warlords. And they believe that the only way they can achieve power is to terrorize and bring people, is to enrich itself through massive corruption. And when we don't take a serious position, this country will continue to be as it is today. Yesterday, my good friend, who is now the president of this country, never had $800,000 in his account. Today he's a millionaire. We had some young guys who never had one bedroom to stay in. Today they have all built multi-million houses, providing their accountability. Because the foundation for democracy is accountability and justice. And we love that. How do you expect to have a sustainable country, a peaceful nation, a country of reconciliation, when gross violation become the way forward? The president referred to citizens that if you want to have protection, you must have CCTV. How do you expect the citizens of this country to provide CCTV that may cost around $300 when they barely have $2 per day to sustain itself? Yes, we do have peace, but we have fragile peace. The peace is not maintained because the solution for it is maintained because Liberian people are tired of war. In this country, Liberia, we don't have reconciliation because people still have issues. How do we expect reconciliation in the absence of justice? How do we expect to have reconciliation in the absence of accountability? Those that brought war to the country are those in power today. Those that are stolen for our country economics are those in power today. The victims that has any time to elect, those that victimize them as leaders. So how do we expect to have a peaceful nation, a reconciled nation, in the absence of this? That is why we are calling on the international community. With all war and economic control in this country, every effort and sacrifice by the international community of Liberians will go in vain. But we show you when this point is established, that Liberians will have a way forward. We will have a broken judicial system as you are all aware. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We call on candidate Simeon Freeman. What concrete steps you think we need to take to ensure national reconciliation?
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the additional 1 minute. Look, typically, people believe that we need a war and economic crimes code. That's lazy. When war criminals need to be prosecuted in America, they don't set up a war and economic crimes code. They use the judicial system. Our civil law code is more than enough. Our criminal code is more than enough to deal with the issues of war crime. All you have to do, gather pieces of evidence. If you kill anybody that's associated with me, you're going to pay through the existing court system. I think the issue of reconciliation and peace is hinged on economic performance. When you have lots of your people so poor, totally underemployed, lack opportunities. Agricultural sector don't work. Manufacturing is weak. Nothing about the economy is solid. Yes, you're going to have lots and lots of poverty. Yes, you're going to have abuse. The biggest problem in our country is we misdiagnose. When there was massive rape, instead of dealing with the economic issue, we said rape would be non-billable. Rape is not billable. Rape is still prevalent. Rape is still increasing. Because studies have shown, even in America, even in Europe, areas and communities in which industrial growth dropped significantly, you have increase in those things. The way to, in any respect, resolve peaceful, in favor of peace in Liberia, we need to work on our economic infrastructure. That's why as president, and the only person running for president who started from nothing to something, I've never really worked for anybody in that light. I've actually built a whole empire that spans from Liberia to Kenya to Ghana to some other countries. It's basically by being innovative, by looking at the situation and challenging it. And I tell you, if we can work on our economy in every respect, all of this issue of some of the so-called divisiveness that we have will disappear. So as president, with your hope, help, blessing, come October 10, I'm of the strong opinion. We change our economy, we change the outcome, and in every respect, we will have a lot of these things going away. Let me see how much time I have. I want to give you one example, but I'll just try to save the time for another time. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Freeman, thank you very much. Candidate Bendo Koran, we want your take on this. What concrete steps can be taken? You mentioned the issue of women, and I covered the Civil War. I know women face the brunt of our conflict. Madam President.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Bendo Koran. Peace is such an essential component of any society. We have right now problems existing on ethical lines, ethnic line, religious line, political line. And I mention all of these because we see a whole lot of disruptions going on, especially on political lines. FOIA, for example, local counties. People are fighting. We are all one Liberia. It's good to have diversity of thoughts and diversity of religions, diversity of political lines, but we have to realize that we're going to use our diversity to build our strength. So peace is a very, very essential component. I mean, last week I think we had 3 or 4 days of peace conference. That was very, very, good. A lot of money was spent, but few candidates show up. That shows to say how important that topic is. I think we should respect whenever a conference or anything is going about when it comes to peace and reconciliation, especially we, the presidential candidates, we have to show up and learn. Every day you can learn something new. Peace, my people, is so important. Let's stop the fighting. Let's stop the, we can disagree on all lines, be it ethnic, relations, political. But once we hold the peace, it makes our country peaceful and stable. So we don't have to think about fighting and war. And when there is disruptions, those individuals need to be dealt with. We can't just let it go or slam on the wrist, stuff like that. We really got to deal with those situations. Because peace brings about violence. Violence brings about death. We have to engage in all of those areas and make sure those that break the law, they be dealt with. Be dealt with, to the fullest, to the max. So peace is such an essential component that we all supposed to adhere to. Ladies and gentlemen, if I should become your president, I'm a very peaceful person. No matter where I've gone, peace has always been my, my solution. Sometimes you have peaceful dialogue. Sometimes you get into a physical altercation. Sometimes it's just good to walk away. Or they will tell you all kinds of things. For example, you're a woman, why do you want to run for president? Hey, this is my country. I have the right to file for the highest office, and I can do it peacefully. I can do it lawfully. We are all like this. Let's remain peaceful. Let's not repeat what is going on in Liberia and other parts because of this election. We are Liberians. We are all Liberians. This election will come and go, but Liberia will remain.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidate Kumar. Next, we have candidate Richard Miller on the issue of reconciliation. What can Liberians expect if elected president? And in the meantime, you're listening to the 2023 presidential candidates debate, thanks to USAID interviews and the consulting of civil society and media groups. Mr. Miller.
Thank you very much. My wife is what we call physical therapist, counselor, right? People can have the opportunity to go and sit and discuss family issues, a whole range of issues. And when I think about many of us who left Liberia before the war, including those who went during the war and after the war. Places like Philadelphia, Minnesota, in the United States. Even though many of our citizens that are there in the U.S. are traveling, good jobs, but the issue of unsettled trauma is still haunting many of our people. So what I'm saying is that peace and reconciliation can be done. Yes, I do agree that it's all tied to economic variables. But the human mind is one that when you just imagine your own family, if things are not going well with your children or your wife or so, you have to be able to get to a place where you can discuss those issues that will help you to go forward and for you to be able to contribute to the society. The thing about the ICC, if I give you the opportunity to be your president, like everything I said throughout this dialogue is that I believe in not rushing to make a decision. What is the root cause of where we are? There's no opportunity, you can't take your children to school, all of those things that are happening. But there's also pros and cons to everything. For me, the ICC is that while it's beneficial, I will want to get more information in terms of the framework for the administration of bringing the court here. So to me, that is something that I have to look into and then get advice to see what's best for Liberia. But definitely, I will not allow or give anybody a job that is a warlord, a criminal, or whatever. That is not going to happen. Thank you.
Go next to candidate Alan Brown on this subject. And candidate Miller mentioned the root causes of our civil war. Go back to the TRC report of 2010. A number of them were underlined, including abuse of power, injustice, etc. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Listen, peace and reconciliation. You got to deal with the roots of the problem. There's a correlation between the rule of law and peace and stability. That is the root. Now, yes, economy supports that. But who's going to invest money in place where they feel their money is not safe. And I'm not talking about $1 million, $10 million, $20 million. That doesn't really help us. We need people coming in with 100 million. We need people coming in with 200 million to leapfrog this country into the future. Nobody's going to bring that kind of money here when they don't trust the system. And it's a systemic issue. It's not a personal issue. So when you start talking about the rule of law, which is necessary to have peace and reconciliation, one, you gotta appoint judges that are competent. You have to have judges that have character and personal integrity. Then you have to have judges that are compassionate. When you start talking about a war and economic crime court, it is not about punishing a specific person. It's about the future of the nation and our children and people to come. I support it theoretically, but it has to be tied to judicial reform. That means we don't want this war crime court to come, whatever it does, and then leave, and then we are not prepared to resume our sovereign judicial responsibility. Then we revert to where we are today or worse. We don't need that. We need to make sure the residents of the court, the composition of the court, how long will the court be here, or the security implications of a war crimes court. But if we really want reconciliation, we want peace and reconciliation, we have to have an economy that's worth tens of billions of dollars. To do that, we need our international partners. To get our international partners to take us seriously, we've got to take the rule of law seriously. Thank you.
Next is Mr. Kennedy Turner to address himself to these very critical questions. And in fact, the questions listed in the thematic areas all very critical. And your take.
All right. Liberia's issue is constitutional from my side and my observation. For example, Article 97. 13 of our brains in this country, they were killed in one day. And then a constitution comes into play and say, all of the guys that killed these people, nobody can bring them to book. Article 97. That's the foundation of hate. That's the foundation of all of the issues we have in this country with bitterness and the pain. There's no way you can correct this situation or transform this country and bring reconciliation until you can go to the roots. The rudiments, whatever caused all of this hatred. One day, someone got up out of the blues, overthrew a government, and killed all of the major brains you can imagine. And then the person institutes the Constitution and says nobody can do anything to anybody that killed them. And that is in Article 97 of our Constitution. So you need a referendum. You need to go back to the Constitution and change some of these articles that promoted mayhem in this country without justice. Now, the second thing I'm going to do when I'm president in this country is that immediately I come to office, I will set up a tribunal that is going to call to book everyone that has perpetrated or promoted war or war crimes in this country, no matter who the person is. The reason why I'm not going to use the justice system that exists, like one of my colleagues said, is because Article 68 gives the president the power to appoint all the judges. How do you expect me to be the one to appoint you, or I've appointed you and give you a job that changed your life and you speak against me? It's not possible. So this is where Liberia's problem is. I will recommend and do a referendum where judges in this country will be chosen and vetted upon by civil society. That's it. They then you bring about the transformation. Nobody's going to bring anybody to book who appointed you into your office. So this is where Liberia's problem starts from. It's constitutional. It's a holistic thing that must be dealt with. So we issue a referendum and make sure we change all of these clauses, set up a tribunal that will bring to book all of these perpetrators of injustices in this country. Because you cannot have reconciliation without justice. And then get rid of, bring in laws that will bring people to book, that will promote hate speeches in this country. So basically, that's what I'm going to do when I'm elected president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On this theme, last but not the least, candidate Edward Appleton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to pay homage and want to also express my sympathy and condolences to Nigerians who were killed in Foya. We are with you and your family, and I am calling upon the government, the Ministry of Justice, and the National Police to investigate this matter expeditiously to ensure that we can bring those culprits to justice. As part of our core values, transparency, non-partisanship, truth, respect for the rule of law, justice. These are things that we take seriously. Peace is not achieved at the end of the war. It is a sustained effort by citizens, by civil society organizations, by the press. There has to be ongoing engagement of peace. That's how we achieve peace. And that's how we build upon the fragile peace that we have, that we can achieve durable peace and to the largest and lasting peace. I do embrace the idea of the war crimes code. When the country emerges from civil war, as violent as ours was, where we had 200,000 people killed, innocent people, men, women, and children, there has to be some deterrence. The War Crimes Code, in my opinion, is not targeting anyone. But we must ensure that there is transitional justice. We must ensure that there is deterrence against anyone who will choose to perpetrate violence, to kill innocent people, rip out babies, drink their blood, and openly say it. We must implement the War Crimes Code to hold those people accountable, especially those who perpetrated heinous crimes and crimes against humanity, against the Liberian people. And we must send a strong message to that, to others who will ever think about doing it, there will be accountability. This is a country. It's a nation. We must be able to stand up for ourselves. Don't tell me that the War Crimes Code will somehow conflict with our judicial system. That is unacceptable. When we implement the War Crimes Code, we send a strong message that you will not kill people, you will not drink the blood of babies, and say that there is a statute of limitation because you killed someone 30 years ago, it does not come today. So we will never achieve the kind of peace if we continue to be on the side of
this.
Okay, now we switch the focus to health, which is another important thing. In the meantime, for our original listeners, I don't know whether ELBC is still on, and the Facebook people, social media, this is made possible through USAID support, through interviews, and then the consortium of civil society and media groups. My colleague Eva will lead this section on health.
Thank you so much, Frank. And this debate is also live on Air Force Radio as well. So on the issue of health, with our health sector experiencing a rapid decline amidst claims of lack of functional health centers, especially in the countryside, whilst health conditions such as mental health, diabetes, high blood pressure, and death in childbirth and infant mortality, coupled with the continuous spread of global health pandemics like Ebola and coronavirus. What in health do you propose to improve access to functional health services by the Liberian people? We will start with Mr. Miller. Welcome.
So the issue of health, for all of us, those of us that were born in this great Liberia, I was born in Nima County, in the village, where I was a midwife is the one that brought me. So in many villages and small towns, no clinic, hospital, those things were not there. And we're talking about 53 years before. And so at my age, and think about even the youth here, we're still dealing with the same dilemma. And so it's important that, yes, on the peripheral, when we talk about some of the things that it gives me the opportunity to lead this great country is that, yes, we will invest in doctors, nurses, make sure that supply chain and things of that sort will be dependable. Climate change is very much at the forefront because it's going to affect, like everything else we have been having, and we have been having a discussion. But climate change is at the forefront. So in order for us to get doctors and nurses who are where they are, especially, say for example, in the Southeast, it's not possible, perhaps it's during the dry season. So how we work towards the challenges we have for climate change is going to have an impact on how we can be able to distribute and help our people. Every community in this country, in my administration, will have a clinic, a hospital. So no longer will we have our sisters, our mothers, if you're going to have your baby where you have to be on a wheelbarrow and you're hoping that you can get to the next town to deliver your child. Those are the reality that, some of the reality that we go through as a country. So those are the things I'm going to focus on to make sure we invest in healthcare, the youth, women, reproductive issues, will be able to invest in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll welcome up Sheikh Kuyate.
Thank you. We are aware that we have challenges when it comes to health in Liberia. Well, one of these challenges is the health sector has become commercialized by government officials. Let's take, for example, the Minister of Health hires an institution, hires a hospital, and donation given by international donors. These donations don't reach the people in rural areas. Everything remains right here. Most of those legislation, they have clinics and they have hospitals. What is brought for poor people is what it takes to enrich itself. So the issue here with health is that we do not have medical practitioners, is that we do not have hospitals or clinics here, but the challenge is that corruption has become a hindrance to the health sector in this country. We believe when we, through the legislature and the support of international community, ensure that those who are involved in healthcare, like those who have hospital, they must not be allowed to take government job. Because how do you expect the people in the rural, in Sanikole to get medicine? When, for example, the representatives of Nimba County or Central Nimba County has a hospital, and the budget has been pushing, they say we need incentives. The incentive doesn't go to the people in rural areas, but it goes to the government officials. Let's say, for example, when Master McCarthy did a country tour in this country, it was a serious embarrassment. He went to places where people have no access to health care. While government officials, 80% of them family fly in this country to go abroad for medical care, health care. All of them have hospitals. And these are the hospitals that receive materials or medicine that must be used for the poor people. So in order to strengthen our health sector in this country, we must strengthen our judicial system, where people be prosecuted no matter your position, and we will also ensure that accountability be a way forward. There's no possibility of this country moving forward in the absence of justice and accountability. That is why the Liberia First Movement continues saying there's no way you can have democracies when you don't have a good foundation. And the foundation of democracy is justice and accountability. And that's what we stand for. If these things are not done, Liberia and Liberians will continue to have challenges in terms of health care. That is our complaint, our citizens, our manifesto to tell you that we need to strengthen the judicial system. We need to ensure to fight corruption in order to have a good health care system in this country. Thank you.
Would I welcome Mr. Alan Brown of the Liberia Restoration Party.
Thank you. We have people still dying in childbirth, dying from malaria, dying from typhoid. We have people who die because there's no oxygen when they need oxygen and they go to the hospital. And then we don't have enough hospitals. We don't have the solutions here in Monrovia, much less in the rural areas. So, we got a big problem when it comes to health, but it's a problem we can solve. I'm into mobile clinics in all the counties because we have to have that. And we have to make sure that we man those clinics so that people stop dying from very simple, basic things. And this has been happening for a long time. People dying at this time because they go to the hospital and they get misdiagnosed. Why? Because the equipment isn't there. That's crazy. It's incomprehensible. It's unfathomable. It doesn't need to happen. We have professionals, good doctors here in Liberia. We got them. They're not equipped. We have professionals abroad who still thirst, who still have a desire to help their country. So what we have to do, we have to find a way to get those doctors here, to Liberia in some sort of rotational program, working with the doctors who are in Liberia. We don't want a schism between them, and we don't have to have a schism between them. To do what? To help our country. And I'm telling you that the good part of the health problem is that this is a problem that we can solve relatively with ease, but it's going to take willpower, a desire, an understanding of the problem. For example, we have a pandemic and most people don't even know. We got a drug pandemic going on, bigger than Ebola, bigger than COVID. We got people that are on drugs. What can we do? How do we solve it? We solve it by dealing with our international partners to make sure we have border control, to make sure that we have inpatient centers, outpatient centers. And these are things that we can do. It's just about commitment, creating that awareness that we have them, social, political, economically resourcing them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Next we'll welcome Madam Bindu Alima. She's an independent candidate.
Thanks again. Independent candidate, just as she said. Healthcare. Healthcare, you know, one of the first things I would take a look at, the dirt in the city, Monrovia has become like a dump. If we could only clear some of the trash and dirt in the city, this would minimize our health system completely, all the illnesses. The health centers have to be equipped with basic equipment, X-ray machines, laboratory apparatus. And we have electronic machines that can take a simple thing as an X-ray. My colleague mentioned mobile. I actually had it written down too. Mobile clinics that will take our medical students to the various villages. But before we can even go to some of the villages, we have to fix our roads. So everything is intertwined, tied in better roads, better accessibility to healthcare. Then we have to teach our midwives how to deliver babies. Not all babies are delivered in hospitals. In Bala, a midwife developed me right in Bala, and I'm very thankful for that. Then we also have to look at the global pandemic. Some of those things, just food hygiene can prevent that. Wash your hands. Do not share items when the person have a cold. Also, we have to improve our existing facilities. JFK Medical Center, a couple of years ago in the 70s, because I worked there as a vacation student, it was so well equipped. It had one of the best eye clinics. I had an eye surgery on my left eye. Dr. Traub was the name of this doctor. People from all over West Africa came just to see Dr. Traub. It was so clean. They had X-ray machine, lab machine, medicine, and everything. But it has all deteriorated. We have to learn how to maintain what we have. Because even if we have the best of facilities and we don't learn how to maintain those facilities, it will just be a waste of money. We gotta have ambulances that have gas. Several times when my brother died, the ambulance came to my house and they didn't have gas in the car. We had to give $20 to the ambulance driver just to have gas. So imagine, I'm not saying that saved his life, but imagine an ambulance arriving and it's already gassed up. The chances exist that it will get to its destination without running out of gas. So we have to take a look at that.
This is an LMDI production.
Next, we'll welcome Mr. Edward Appleton, Jr. from the Grassroots Development Movement.
Thank you very much. Nigeria spends 9% of GDP on healthcare. That is more than our immediate neighbors. And our healthcare delivery system is still one of the poorest, so there's something wrong with that. As part of our own platform, we want to ensure that we can first conduct a study so that we'll be informed about the problems of our healthcare system. We also know that many people in Liberia today are still dying from curable diseases. Malaria is still the #1 killer. This has been something that's been going on for a century and more than a half, but we have not been able to ensure that we can stop people from dying from malaria. We have to build capacity in terms of our institutional framework where we want to train more doctors, for example. We want to ensure that we can have more technicians training EKG, X-ray technicians, epidemiologists, neurologists, pathologists. We want to send a sound message to society that these are fields that are very important for the country. We want pediatric nurses, for example, to take care of babies. In Liberia, 4 women die every day in childbirth. This is something we need to pay attention to, especially in rural Liberia. The idea of the mobile clinic world, we can replicate that and to ensure that other countries can benefit from that as well. It's part of our program that we want to invest in mental health. It's a serious problem in this country. Mental health has to be addressed, especially with a country emerging from a violent conflict. A lot of people who are still suffering from PTSD is something we must address. Some of these people are within our government agencies, and because we have not diagnosed, have not seriously taken mental health, we think some of these people are sound. So as part of our framework, we ensure that we can invest in building capacity, especially in rural Liberia. We can equip our hospitals, as one of my colleagues stated, we can have preventive care. Liberians should know, we should train more dentists, for example. And we can show that when an ordinary Liberian goes to the hospital, he will not be charged exorbitant fees. So we will make healthcare more affordable when we are president of this country. Thank you.
Next we'll call on Mr. Joshua Turner, New Liberia Party.
Okay, basically this is what I'm going to do as president. We're going to set up what we call free early diagnosis centers all over Liberia. Liberians die from diseases that they discover it when they die, so to speak. But if you have early diagnosis centers all over, people are going to find out what's wrong with them early and be able to respond to the health problems very early. For example, I met a friend yesterday. She has lost so much weight. Her skin has become so fragile. And then she says to me, I don't know what's happening to me. Have you been to the hospital? Yes, she went to the hospital. What happened? She can feel weak when she gets to the hospital and they gave her drip. I said to her, go and do your sugar test. This girl went yesterday, did a sugar test. Sugar is way high. That's it. That's what's killing Liberia. And that's what's killing us in this country. We don't have early diagnosis system. So I'm going to set up free early diagnosis system all over the street corners where you can just enter, stand there, get scanned, know your health status. That's the first thing we're going to do to remediate the issues about health in this country. Next thing, we're going to subsidize over-the-counter medications. Most of these medications that we take over-the-counter, that is our regular intake in Liberia, paracetamols and all of what we take every other day, we're going to subsidize it to make it affordable. Factor into the budget a certain amount that is going to subsidize a portion of the prices to make these medications affordable. The next thing we're going to do is to build maternity centers in the 73 districts in this country. Build maternity centers so that we will not want a woman who is in child labor to take 1 hour or 2 hours journey to get to the next hospital. If you have small maternity centers operational, functional, and equipped in each of these districts, is going to remediate the issue of infant mortality. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to pay health workers very well. Very, very well. Give them the best pay you can imagine. Yes, two group of people in this country we're going to pay well: our security apparatus and that of our health workers. Make sure they're making a good amount of money because they are our lifesavers. The next thing I'm going to do is to shut down all ad hoc clinics. I got a complaint yesterday of a clinic that went to circumcise a boy, and the guy cut off the boy's, sorry to say that, mistakenly. I mean, you have most of these clinics, yes, it's a story we saw yesterday. Most of these clinics around are not satisfied. So each clinic operating must be fully satisfied to be able to operate. And then people operating those clinics must have
this.
And next we'll welcome Mr. Seaman Freeman, movement for progressive change.
Thank you again. I think one of the problems is the perception and role of government in our country. Several years ago, it was fashionable across Africa for government to be in telecommunication. Today, the largest tax-paying sector in all of Africa is the mobile phone sector. No government participation is working. There is now more competitiveness, and the sector works. Increased government role in the running of the affairs of state has been a serious problem. So across Africa, government still run water and electricity, and it's a major problem. In other countries where significant efforts, like Nigeria, where significant efforts have been made to liberalize the sector and have the private sector run, it is now functioning. That's why, as president, we will let the private sector run a health sector instead of having a health ministry eating more money than money actually getting down to health. So what we're going to do, we're going to fund the privately owned private company that are running the health sector that don't have the money. They will be able to source that money from the commercial bank, so it makes it a private loan to them to capacitate the health sector. Who will be beneficiary of free health? If you make less than $200 or $200, we give you an insurance card as a government, and the value of that card will probably be over $300 a year, and anybody can recharge it because it's going to be a debit card. We will want to use the health problem to create more jobs in the private sector. So you're going to have an expanded insurance infrastructure where government pays for health on our arrangement. The issue of drugs, support to the DEA has to be increased. Right now, budget to the DEA is less than $500,000 a year. You have to treat the DEA officers. You have to increase the number of DEA officers, and You have to increase financing to the DE. Then you also need to employ high-tech equipment at our ports of entry so that you will be able to track importation of drugs. The issue of dye collection is in the private sector. In neighboring countries, private sector is collecting dye. You let the city corporation collect it from place to place, and it never works. If you have a guy that doesn't know what he's doing as city mayor, nothing really works. So you need the private sector. Dye is money. You can turn all the plastics, the fruits into different products. So we need to have the private sector have a role. Our international partners that want to partner with those private sector can work with them either through grants or thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we'll take an approach to summarize the remaining aspects. We'll be calling on the candidates to respond to these various issues. We're looking at the issue of infrastructure, foreign policy, the rule of law, the economy, youth empowerment, corruption, and gender and inclusion. I'll go over that again, so you need to capture it quick. We're looking at the issue next: infrastructure, the economy, foreign policy, rule of law, youth empowerment, corruption, gender, and inclusion. What do you have to say concerning these different issues? As you come up, please endeavor to address these different issues within the time frame given to you. So let's do justice again. Once more, issues coming up: infrastructure, foreign policy, rule of law, the economy, youth empowerment, corruption, gender, and inclusion. And to our audience, as soon as we're done with this, we'll be coming to you. Sorry, by the time we're done with the help.
So probably we increase just by, because they're dealing with what, 4 issues? So 4 minutes? Would that make sense? 4 minutes for, no, 4 minutes. We gotta go. 4 minutes.
So we believe that in 4 minutes, you'll be able to exhaust all of these different issues. Madam Bender, you're welcome. Endu Alima Kuma, independent candidate, you're welcome.
I'm going to start with infrastructure. The need to have road connectivity is so important. This is how we reach the farm to market road. This is how, if our people are ill, and get into the clinic, and need better roads, all of the infrastructure, better hospitals with good machines and everything. So because we have limited time, I'm going to have it very brief. Then the rule of law. The rule of law is so important. We have to strengthen all of our judicial systems. We have to put people in place that are credible, integrity, and all of that. I'm going to go on to youth empowerment. I believe you are one of those. Youth empowerment. The youth are the future of our generation, and we have to empower them. A lot of time we call some Zocos, but for those youth, we need to develop 5 geographic locations and build centers, 5 different centers where we take these youth, train them, rehabilitate them, and reintroduce them back to the society. So that's just something brief with youth empowerment. Then gender, we see that there are few women presidents. So ladies, I know what you're gonna do. Liberians, I know what you're gonna do. Try to increase the woman participation. We have 2 women in this candidate. One is standing right in front of you. Make sure you put that woman in the office. Women can do a lot. For 176 years, the men have ruled this nation. How far have we gone? So you have to think about that when you're making those decisions and choices. We need to put a woman back there. Women do a lot more. Women care a lot. I have to credit Madam Johnson-Sirleaf. She did a lot after the war and brought Liberia up, but right now we're at a slippery slope. I think I didn't jot these things down, but I think the other one was foreign policy. We have to engage our foreign partners. We have to work together with our foreign partners. We have to work with ECOWAS to strengthen ECOWAS, to minimize all of the conflict that is going on right now in Africa. For example, Niger just had a coup. We've had so many coups in Africa. We have so many takeover. I'm not saying they are wrong, or just need to engage our people so these things can be peaceful, credible, and when they are replaced, to think about the entire continent. West Africa, we need to come together and build up ECOWAS, strengthen ECOWAS. African Union, we need to come together and build our respective place. Our foreign policy have to be at point. We have to remember our greatest ally, the United States of America, and build a very strong relationship with our ally. We can always engage them and talk to them as time goes. Yes. Corruption, I don't know if we did, but I'm just going to talk on it. Corruption is the core, and then the drawback for most of what's going on in Africa. We can do that and just minimize corruption for a better Liberia. Better Liberia make better people make great future. Our children need all of that, and let's work together to make this country, the only country we have, a better place for one and for all. Thank you very much. My name is Baby Kuma, an independent female candidate. We need more women in government. Thank you.
Thank you. We welcome Mr. Edward Appleton, Grassroots Development Movement.
Thank you very much. In terms of infrastructure, it is well documented that our infrastructure is poor, partly due to the war and also due to the lack of investment into that sector. We need to build more bridges and roads. We need to improve our infrastructure. It is impeding investment. Investors are finding it difficult to really come here because electricity is a problem. As part of our major plan, we look into building it down on the Kabali. Probably we can have a public-private partnership to build a dam to electrify the country, especially rural Liberia. We want to ensure that we can provide electricity and safe drinking water for our population, not only in Monrovia. As part of our foreign policy has not changed since the Tubman era. We subscribe to international conventions. For example, we subscribe to the United Nations Declaration of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We believe in the rule of law. We also have elements of the U.S. Bill of Rights and elements of the English common law, English Bill of Rights, that have formed the bedrock as part of our foreign policy. We also believe in non-interference into the internal affairs of others or other nations. We work and fight for peace and to ensure that globally we can be a country that supports peace, democracy, and the rule of law. In reference to the rule of law, we have to conduct judicial system reform in our country. We want to ensure that, keep in mind, we do have a kind of legal dualism. We have the Anglo-Saxon common law and we have the customary law. And most judges may be trained in statutory law and they follow the principle of stare decisis, which allows them to use precedent as form of the judicial interpretation. But when it comes to the customary law, some people may not be trained in that regard. So we have to revisit that to ensure that everyone in the country will have access to counsel under the Constitution, and we can interpret the law as written and not legislate from the bench. In the form of the economy. This economy is not owned by Liberians. This economy is owned by foreigners. And the president, as your president, I want to make sure I revisit the Liberianization policy so we can invest, we can ensure that we can empower Liberians, Liberian businesses, especially women businesses, that we can take control of this economy, because as you see, when people close their doors, our entire economy is shut down. So we want to make sure that we can invest in Liberians, we can provide them with access to credit and low interest loans so that Liberian boys, girls, men and women, Liberian petty traders will be able to do business, and you will have a president in me who will fight for you every day. Peace and reconciliation, we spoke on that. We ensure that we are peaceful. My sound message to you all across this country: we will only achieve peace when we are respectful to each other, when we show each other kindness and love, and we can resolve our conflicts by dialogue and not war. Youth empowerment, it is embedded in our platform. We have to work to ensure that we empower the youth, give them access to education, give them access to opportunity, vocational training. Corruption is endemic. And gender inclusion, women will include more women as part of our national policy. Thank you very much.
Next we'll welcome Mr. Joshua Turner.
Okay, infrastructure. We're going to set up, we want to make sure that we touch base with our roads connectivity, and then we want to build 5-star housing units where Liberians can have access to occupy and own, and also create a payment plan where they can pay for these housing units on the basis of their income. When it comes to the sectoral part of our foreign policy. When it comes to corruption, we're going to go to the Constitution Institute of Reform, where in our Constitution, the lawmakers in this country decide their salary. We're going to scrap that. You cannot tell somebody to decide their salary, expect the person not to apportion huge amount of money to themselves. Under Liberia's law, Article 36 gives the lawmakers the right to decide their salary, gives the president the rights to appoint judges in this country. Like I said initially, we're going to make sure the judges in this country are appointed and vetted upon by civil society. We're going to institute a database system in this country that will put video surveillance in all government parastatal offices, attach video surveillance on government cars, talk to the GSM companies so that we can give them phone lines to tap into the conversation that has to do with government, even on their private lines. We're going to get that from the GSM company. That will be one of the reasons why we will give you the rights to operate in Liberia. The rule of law, we're going to make sure our law enforcers are paid very, very well, and make sure that they have housing units available for them. And when it comes to youth empowerment, we're going to make sure that we give them expertise and training when it comes to skill work and all that. And then gender equality, we're going to make sure women are more like 40% in our government. Every ministry in this country, if it has a male as the number one, it will have a female. If it has a female as the number one, a male will be the number two. We're going to push all of that. Number 17 is the number on the ballot. I look forward to your nice sign on elections day. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Mr. Richard C. Miller, Liberians for Prosperity Party.
So as it relates to infrastructure, we have to be able to manufacture iron ore. That will help us when we're talking about construction, bridges, and things of those sort. That will help us with lessening the cost of buying, importing a lot of steel to build. We talk about hydro. All the rivers and things around here, there's no reason why we shouldn't have electricity everywhere in Liberia. That's to say, having Ghana, other places, it's not like they do it better than us, but the vision that they have, when you have the kind of leaders like myself that we're talking about here, they giving the opportunity to lead, no community will go without electricity. Even when we talk about trees, transportation, buses, and things like that. People have access to that. Foreign policy, we know that the world is, a lot of wars and other things, geopolitical issues here. But at the end of the day, my administration, we're going to focus, first of all, to invest in our joint security apparatus, so that we are strong as a people, our national security, that we're the borders, or when people are flying to our country, that we make sure that our people, or people that are coming in Nigeria or leaving Nigeria, that we're checking and we're making sure that the documentation and things like that people need to have. So even when people come to Liberia, for example, you're supposed to be in Liberia, say for example, for 6 months. When the 6 months is over, you're going to have to either apply through immigration to get your permit extended, or if not, you have to leave. And the same way when we leave and go to other people's countries, we can't just decide that we don't leave. We have to follow the law, the security apparatus. So the U.S. has what we call SETCOM. So anywhere here where the U.S. has interest for their security. So obviously Liberia and the United States are partners, and then also we work in conjunction with ECOWAS and other issues here. Rule of law, as I've heard from our colleagues here, we have to make sure that we have the kind of judges that will be independent. But also, I think the Constitution has to be amended, look at it and see, so that judges can be appointed. So that way the president doesn't interfere. The economy, we have to have an industrial economy where we manufacture, we build in Liberia, and we export. But that's what we have to do to create jobs. Youth empowerment. We also have different programs for youth, trades and things like that. Children can be able to go there. The youth can be able to have to improve themselves and have an opportunity. Corruption, the same thing. To me, I always like to look at management systems. This is the way you can remove people having access to money. You put things in place to prevent them from doing that. Gender inclusion, we're going to also be able to help our sisters.
Thank you. We now welcome Mr. William R. Brown, from the Liberia Restoration Party.
the rule of law, raising money, and security inextricably intertwined. You've got to have the rule of law, number one. That's appointing competent judges, judges with integrity, judges with compassion. Not only that, you have to strengthen the judicial inquiry commission for judges to keep them on track. You have to strengthen the grievance and ethics committee for lawyers to keep them on track. That way, we know the rule of law is apparent. That way, we know that we can attract capital. And I'm not talking about small capital because that's not going to get us where we need to go. We need real capital. With respect to the economy, I have an IPP program, investment property proposal, that not only puts Liberians in their own home, but it also gives them an investment property. That means we move our people from being tenants to becoming landlords. Remember, we're trying to leapfrog into the future. There is no country that has this policy. Libya and Singapore, they can put you in a home. That's known. But no country talks about an investment property for all its citizens, all its families. That leapfrogs us into the future. Youth empowerment, our greatest asset, the greatest asset this nation has. You out there, our people. I'm going to build our people and make sure our people build Liberia, and that is possible. I'm going to put a program, I have a policy that allows 50 youths from each county, 750, to be trained in business development. When they train in business development, we'll disperse them throughout the economy and watch them set our economy ablaze. Foreign policy. When I talk about inclusion, I don't even talk about domestic inclusion. I'm also talking about foreign inclusion. That means consultation with the United States of America, Great Britain, Israel, the European Union, African Union, ECOWAS, Nigeria, South Africa. But not only that, our neighbors, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Ivory Coast. We can learn from them and they can learn from us. But we need them to move forward. When you talk about infrastructure, look, I don't think about Liberia as a nation of 5 million people. No. When I think about Liberia, I think about it as a nation of 50 million people. And the decisions that we make today must stand as sensible and concrete decisions 100, 200 years from today. So when you start talking about connectivity and infrastructure, you're talking about making sure that we have road connectivity, we have clusters of communities, that we have the internet connections, and everything for a modern technological society, because that's where we hit it on the meat. We are going to leapfrog into the future. With respect to gender, my vice president is a woman. She's an awesome pick. I have the fullest confidence in her. And on that note, I'm going to establish a Bureau of Technology. You can't be in a technological age and not have that. And that bureau will guide us into the future. On that note, I close. Thank you.
Next, we'll welcome Shikweta, Liberia First Movement.
Thank you. Let me start with the gender inclusion. We are all aware that Liberia has played a major role in having gender and women inclusion governance. This country got independent in 1847. In 1949, we were able to hire women to vote in this country. And that's a plus. In 2005, we also elected the first female president in Africa. So what we need to tell our women is that avail yourself, as Madam said, did. Avail yourself, and others will have been enduring around the world. and you will have a platform leadership in this country. When it comes to corruption, our country, the hindrance to development in this country is corruption. We need to strengthen the judicial system to ensure that no one is above the law, to blinding the eyes of the judicial system where it doesn't see the rich and poor, where it doesn't see relatives of our officials and so on. With that, I'm sure that we can move forward. When we talk about youth empowerment, when I was contesting in 2020 for the Senate, youth empowerment was a priority on my platform. And Liberia First Movement has a policy that when introduced and accepted by legislation, even though we have similar National Youth Service, when the student graduates from Maryland County, he's taken to Cape Cod County for youth training, he comes with two different things: new experience, new family. So we show that any young person will be given the opportunity to have skilled, we empower him to be skilled, not just skilled, quality education, vocational and technical education, and also ensure that every citizen of this country have technological knowledge. And with that, we'll have youth prepared for job. Then we have the issues, the infrastructure. We all know that yes, we have roads in Liberia since 1847, and some of us might like to be saying that there have been no development in this government. Our people today, some of us will not go to Lofa and the southeastern part of Liberia because there's nobody to get to them. We believe that when we introduce a system of construction where we have the PPP our system, private-public partnership, when roads are built, we don't have to rely on international partners to always finance our projects. We use pool boat, and that will also help to generate funds in that form, be able to build other roads. And we believe that the strengthened education system, we have three advantages in Liberia that can help in terms of our economy. One, we have huge youth population. Once they are skillfully prepared, it will be an advantage for us. Two, we have the agriculture and mining sectors. All our leadership as present in Liberia are with industrialized agriculture and mining sectors. No company will come to this country to get iron ore and leave here. 20% of the iron ore must be manufactured in Liberia. We introduce Liberia's steel industry here. We also ensure that no value needs to go from here to that. We have 30% to our revenue. That will help us to strengthen our economy. And then, fourth thing is rule of law. This country is a land of liberty. We must ensure that the people of this country have liberty. The establishment of what the Economic Crime Code will serve a deterrent for justice, will serve a deterrent for rule of law. I encourage every Liberian, join us in this campaign. Let's establish what the Economic Crime Code in this country. With the establishment of this code, it will serve a deterrent for war criminals and economic criminals. And in the next election, you realize that war laws will not be candidates. And National Election Commission will not be accepting sanction of candidates. Thank you.
We now call up Mr. Seaman Freeman, Movement for Progressive Change.
Thank you, my fellow Liberians here in Radio Land. The first thing is infrastructure. Yes, there's been a lot of talk about roads. Roads is going to cost more than $10 billion to build our roads and connect this country. I look heavily at real construction, which is a lot cheaper to move goods and to connect the country. So, our first focus would be in real construction. We will look at roads, but we will maintain the existing roads that we should do with housing. We will invest through the private sector in a public housing program, but not through a national housing authority. It will be purely private arrangements where they will source money from the commercial banks through a public-private arrangement. Our foreign policy will be heavily driven by Liberia's domestic needs. But definitely President Freeman will not be traveling to a country to go and beg. We will do a lot of domestic realignment to mobilize the existing resources and expand our domestic revenue collection capacity. We replace a lot of the foreign embassies with consulates and reduce our costs, so the millions of dollars currently spent on our foreign ministries that bring nothing back to our country will be domestically deployed to help us. Jobs, we will young youth empowerment. We will provide lots and lots of jobs for our young people through the approaches that we will use towards resuscitating our economy. In terms of our economy, we industrialize the economy. We reduce government participation in the governance of the country, so we have large private participation. We reduce interest rate from 12-14% to about 8%. That will help spur growth. We're going to leverage technology to alleviate corruption. We're going to utilize mobile money as a medium of transaction rather than spending 1.5 million Liberian US dollars to procure about 10 billion Liberian dollars. We're going to create a free entry to Liberia that will help our tourism sector grow. So you don't need to pay visa fee or whatever, whichever country you're coming from in the world to come to Liberia. Resident permit will not be a per annum thing. This is a serious hindrance to investment. We want to give you one resident permit for 10 years, and you don't have to be going to an immigration bureau every year to be battled with people you have no business talking to. Rule of law. The issue of rule of law, let's face it, the courts, we blame the courts. One judge has to hear about 20 cases a day. 20 cases a day or 10 cases a day times 30 days is almost 300 to 400 cases. He has to rule on them. We need to increase investment in our existing court infrastructure. I repeat, we don't need a World Economic Crimes Court. What we need is we need competent lawyers assisting our judges. We need at least 4 competent lawyers. Even the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, they don't have a team of competent lawyers. So it's a serious problem. And then we need to leverage technology. Our current support 2023 budget, according to the budget, is 18 million. But when you talk to people, those monies are far less. So the rating 18, most probably support to the judiciary is probably maybe 15 million. That's what they really get. Something else that you touch on? No? Thank you. I'm number 5 on the ballot. Don't waste your time. Carry Senior Freeman, and let's solve the headache of our problem once and for all. Thank you so much.
Well, those are the voices of the candidates. You're listening to them, and they're telling you what they can do based on the different thematic areas. It's the 2023 presidential debate here, held at the EJS Ministerial Complex. And of course, we have different platforms, social media, we have the ELBC, we have Across Radio, all carrying this program live. We'll now invite our lead moderator, Mr. John Collins, to take over.
Thank you so very much. I'm sure it's been great. You've been campaigning all over the place, Turner. You've got a day here, boy. Today is the day for you to jointly address Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, Presidential Debate 2023 is happy to move further. Our next segment is actually candidates into questions and answers. You're about to enjoy the debate. Move the mics here. Move the podium a little bit. Podium changes for real action. We already see disagreements here. Good. The debate is moving. We hear somebody talking about war crimes court. Somebody said, no, I don't believe in that. So good news. And somebody's talking about maintenance of our infrastructure that will do 19 things. That's true. Look at the place. Look at the ministerial complex ground. All kinds of plastic bag all over the place, man. This is shameful. When I'm here, I'm here. I mean, we gotta clean this compound. It's not good. We're paying people to clean the compound and not cleaning up. The plastic been lined up all over the building and following you. That's unfair. All right, so not there. Bring it up, Chief. And bring the other one. So we'll soon get that. This segment is about getting on each other. Good. God bless this podium here. We're setting up for, I think we are actually a man. See how you get better. All right. What's the other one? Turn around. Move this stuff. Let's debate this man. Move it, man. Help the man. Chief. That one is interpreted already. Once you have to move,
all right, folks, this is focus on Liberia, and this is about the Ellen Johnson Ministerial conference, but the presidential 2023 election debate is taking place, and we've heard from the candidates, each of them, the platforms, and now it's time for...
Give us cable. Take the day with your people, man. You can be hungry for Liberia once.
I believe you'll be having a wonderful time here.
Got test that mic. Let's see. Think of somebody test that mic. 1, 2. Test it. We'll talk to it. Let's say hello.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Good. There. Not so?
Yeah.
All right. So there's questions and answers among candidates. There's a rule to the game here. We have to have no.
Questions and answers.
There's a rule to the game. So 2 questions
between the candidates. Among
1 rebuttal. Meaning, and that's for you. All that thing you say, I don't agree. This is how it should be. So it's time now for Q&A. Questions and answers. Who has the first question? It looks like Big Brother will come. You have to wait some more, my man. Don't start it. All right. Alan Brown, candidate for president, is approaching the podium for Q&A to somebody. Who was that? Benu, take the podium. Alan is on you. Alan Brown to Benu Alema Kuma. Thank you. 2 questions, 1 rebuttal. All right. Benu Alema Kroma is taking the podium, yeah? Yes. All right, so Alan Brown, candidate for president, to Benu Alema, candidate for president. Question number 1.
Okay, so Benu, I'd just like to know a little bit more about your plans for women. And my question is about gender. That's my first question.
No, she will answer that first. Yes, Benu, let's hear you. He likes to know more about your intent for the gender, or for gender in general. Is the mic on? I'm not hearing you. Come closer, man. Come closer.
Brown, thank you so much for that question. Women are marginalized in this society. Women, we have 50% of the population, yet the positions that we hold are way less. So we need to increase our participation, have more women in power. And speaking of that, this woman, Benu, is number 11 on the ballot. So we need let's empower ourselves. We can do a lot more things. We can improve this nation. The men over 176 years, look at where we are right now. We are the oldest independent African republic, and we are way behind. So, Alan Brown, thank you so much for that question. We need to empower empower our girls from high school, from colleges, train them to take our road. Train them not to be afraid to get in government, because this is what we have to do. Start from the rock bottom, and sooner or later, there will be more women participating in government. Thank you.
I'll round number 2 question to Bendu and Lema Kuma. Thank you.
She actually answered the second question in her first answer, so I don't have another question.
Your reporter, any disagreement?
None.
Thank you. Bendu, any question for him though?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Bendu Kuma is entitled to 2 questions to Brown.
Yes, what I'm thinking about, how will you empower the Liberian people? People empower people. That's what I want to know.
Okay, so thank you, Ben. Good question. Look, my whole platform is about empowering the Liberian people. Number 1, let's look at the youth of this nation. One of the policies that I have is to do what? Is to give them business development skills. I'm taking 50 of the youth, all counties, 750 of them. I'm going to train them through an international company that I happen to know this is what they do, business development and source financing. So when we train these youth, what we're going to do now is that we'll monitor them and we'll give them the capital that they need. Then we're going to disperse them through all sectors of our economy and watch these youth turn this economy ablaze. They will transform the economy. Then I'm going to take 100 youth from each county for public service. That's 1,500. Get in 30 months. They go from ministry to ministry, from agency to agency, from bureau to bureau, learning governance. After 30 months, disperse them to the 3 branches of government, the judiciary, legislature, executive, and watch them make government more efficient because they'll be coming with a different mindset. Then we're talking about empowering our people. I made a statement, moving our people from tenants to becoming landlords. It's never been done before, but it's going to bring in people from the diaspora. They get a chance to come back into Liberia if they want to resettle, because that's a pathway for them. It's going to make us dominant in a particular sector, which we need to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Then the number 2 question.
Yes, Mr. Brown, very good points. Where are you going to get all the money from these people empowerment you're talking about?
You see this list here? I anticipated that question. I didn't know where it was coming, but I knew it was coming. Thank you. All right. So I got to put on my glasses. I'm old,
The money is on everything.
All right. So you have public funds. You have private funds. Look at the AFDB. That's African. OPEC, U.S. The North Fund, Norway. CDC, that's United Kingdom. FMO, that's Dutch. Then you got to look at verticals. Green Climate Fund, Adaptation Fund. LDCF, that's the Least Developed Countries Fund. Global Environment Fund. Okay, but that's public. Let's look back at the private stuff. You're talking about the African Alliance Capital. You're talking about INCO. You're talking about Vantage Capital. You're talking about Convergence Partners. And look, and this list is just...
It's endless. Thank you. To that point, your reporter. You said my...
Those are very good points, and I must commend you on that. But if you vote number 11, she can really help you do all of that.
You got it.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you. You go back up. Thank you very much. All right. Good. Test that real quick. Good. Quick. For somebody He will tell us. Al Shakwete.
My big brother, Simon Freeman.
Oh, I know that. Oh yeah, Brazil for singer. Your man picking the Brazil. Yes. Shakwete to Simeon Freeman. Question number 1.
My first question is, from 2006 to 2017, you're one of the active voices in Liberia against the Johnson-Sirleaf government for corruption. And these days, you have been very silent. How can you compare the government of President George Manibuya to that of President Sirleaf?
Well, 2006, I was in active politics. So I started being very active from 2009-10 thereabout. Was I very active? Yes, I was. When President Weah came to power, I started expanding quite a lot across Africa, so I wasn't quite as forceful or more present on the media network like I was, but up to the latter part of the period, you notice the Senior Freeman Show came about, and since then, I've been as forceful as I am.
Do you claim you did not criticize Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf?
Do I claim?
Do you claim that? He's accusing you of being very critical of Ellen, not of George Weah.
I am, so he's not listening. Just yesterday I was in Bapolu, and that has been the team. I was just in Cape Man. I've been all of the counties and places. We've gone multiple places, as a matter of fact. Many places are transgressing, many places are in Bama. I was in Popolu, I was in Dambala, Mambo, all these areas. We're quite clear in terms of the fact that George Weah does not have the capacity to lead. We made that very clear.
Good. Shakwete, question number 2.
Question number 2. You are saying there is no need for the establishment of one economic code, that our already judicial system can take care of that. And I guess you're aware that the same judicial code that we have now overthrew one of its associate justice who was illegally removed and presided by the former Chief Justice. So what is the assurance that this, your judiciary, can prosecute alleged warlords that are in position? Some are senators, some are even vice presidential candidates, some are presidential candidates, and some are lawmakers, and some are judges. How do you think that this, your trusted, competent judicial system that has never given rights to those that have been raped, that has never given rights to those that were killed, that were involved in judicial killings, that never gave rights to those that died during the civil crisis? What is the guarantee you have on Liberian people that this, your code, will provide justice instead of the international criminal code?
Okay, so your question is in multiple parts. You categorize the judicial system as being incompetent because the impeachment process of my friend, former Associate Justice Kabina Janet, was superintended by the Chief Justice. Now, what the Chief Justice did is in consonance with law. If an Associate Justice has to be impeached or anybody, it becomes a jury process. The senators and representatives that say somebody must be impeached, now let me just go back to provide a public education. An impeachment starts, it can start from anywhere, but it is processed by the legislature. So the House of Representatives, the senators process it, and then they, being the jurors, the Chief Justice sits, and it's a whole judicial process, and then if they vote in favor of, that person is removed. Typically, impeachment has lots of aspects. It can either be political or for other things. So under the circumstance, because the Chief Justice superintended the process, is not in itself an evidence that the judiciary is corrupt. You also talked about that the court is not giving verse to rape victims and those that are abused. The court cannot fight for anybody. Let that clarification be made. The legal system works in a way that a victim must get a lawyer. The victim must gather the pieces of evidence. It's the pieces of evidence that's presented to the court, and then the judge make the decision. Every court system, everywhere, just maybe if you follow international law, one of the U.S. associate justices has a problem that's now being discussed, and they're asking for his hair to roll. That hasn't happened, but maybe in other countries that would have happened. But be that as it may, I'm just saying, wherever humans are, there are things of imperfection. But what I'm looking at is, I'm looking at the capacity, constraint, and limitation. The EPS budget, current budget, last year was 10.8, this year is $9.8 million. That's what has been projected. But the judiciary, the entire judiciary budget is just a little over that. You know, I mean, it's about 50%, 100% more. They currently about $18 million. So how can you give the judiciary $18 million and get the EPS that only protects the president and vice president $9.8 million? In the previous year, $10 million. So that means a judge is overwhelmed. Visit the courts and see there is no air conditioner in the court. There is no computer in the court. Just the other day, I got a legal alert from Kenya for something that we're pursuing. And then I forwarded it to somebody that I know, you know, who maybe make use of that. They have the code number, they have a number you can call, they have a mobile number. All of these processes are quite documented.
So what? You disagree with his claims? That's in short what you're saying. You disagree with it.
Well, I want to set the questions in perspective first,
right?
And we delve into it.
You just asked a little bit long, but yes.
Well, we have to provide the basis, unless you don't want me to, because people listen in the public space.
Okay.
So the assumption that the court is responsible for these problems is untrue. Now, if Mr. John Colley's son was killed, under whatever circumstance, he's going to hire a lawyer, he's going to get the pieces of evidence. For example, the guy who superintends the morning show on, what's the radio station name? OKFM, lost his son from what we're hearing. Is he going to wait for war and economic crime court to take the person who killed his whoever to court? No. If somebody raped your daughter, are you going to wait for war and economic crime court? No. You are going to get the lawyer, gather the pieces of evidence. I'm saying, if you think Simeon Fremont killed somebody else, if you think somebody killed somebody else, there are lots of private security companies. And I think I like that question to nip this. Get the private security company, provide witness protection for whoever the people that are going to testify, take them to the court and let them testify. Our civil law code, our criminal code are adequate. In Europe and America, they don't have anything called war and economic crime code. But if you went to America and you were a judge in terms of their perception and the evidence they've gathered and the thing you participated in war, they will take you to court. Do they prosecute you through a war and economic crime court?
Thank you. Secretary, reporter.
Mr. Fremont, I just heard you say that you went to Apollo and all the places you call it, and you have organized Simon Fremont show. When did you organize the show?
No, that's not a question now.
Yeah. You have been very silent. There are proofs, there are indications or indicators where you have been in bed with the government, because Simon Fremont and Liberians know have been one that have been very concerned about economic empowerment, have been very concerned about justice, have been very concerned about women empowerment, have been very concerned about rape and all of injustices. When you have been silent with this government, and we realize that you are now, if I you as a businessman, that I know and respect you for that, you own one of the hotels that the government is using most of the time, Sika Palace Hotel or Sika Boulevard, and you also have a TV show called Simon Fremont Show. When did you open the show? When did you realize that Liberians needed justice?
No more questions.
So I'm telling you that you have not been sincere to Liberian people because you contested 2 times. That's why you were rejected, because you're not sincere in politics. Going to battle now where you have never been before.
Thank you. Reporter, no, you can't. You can't report to a reporter unless you got a question for him and then report.
Okay. So,
question number 1, Senior Secretary.
Yes, Big Bird.
Secretary.
I want to know the basis of you saying that I am in bed with the government.
The basis for that is you have been one person I personally admire when I was in opposition with the CDC back then, and you were a strong voice at the time. And seeing what Mr. William is doing, knowing the gravity of what he's doing, which is heavier than Madam Salim, and you're silent. And you kept saying that you're involved with international affairs. How can you get involved with international affairs when your businesses are running? DSTV is running almost every day. How can you be based on international affairs when your hotel's running in Singapore Bolivar? How can you be based on international affairs when your relationship is moving? How can you be based when you're involved into other businesses in this country? You have not been sincere to our people.
All right, question number 2.
So we have 2 for rebuttal.
Report. 1, you can only have 1 rebuttal.
Right.
No exchange for
rebuttal.
Right.
Lack of education is a serious thing.
Indeed.
Sorry, you can't respond when he speaks. He did not do that to you.
Respond to education is a serious thing. From 2017, I established an industrial park in Ghana. It's called Shah Hills, where we built an industrial park. If you want to build a factory in Ghana, you can come and establish there. From 2017, we also expanded our sugar factory in Ogun State in Nigeria from a $50 million investment to a $150 million investment.